Music and song have always been a part of Lithuanian life. Happy or sad, tilling their fields, tending to their livestock, going to war, courting a beloved, celebrating a marriage, or grieving for a lost one. From ancient times, a song was an expression of the Lithuanian soul and an expression of their love for their country. The Second World War displaced a lot of people, including many thousands of Lithuanians. Most found themselves refugees in Germany, where they soon congregated to form various singing groups. One such group, which called itself the Dainos Ensemble, became quite famous and much appreciated throughout Germany. Dainos Ensemble gave concerts and sang Lithuanian songs for the Allied forces, for ordinary folk, traveling to many towns and refugee camps, delighting their audiences. When in the late 1940s migration to Australia started, many Lithuanians settled in Melbourne. Among them were members of the famous Dainos Ensemble, and by early 1949 some of the men, led by Petras Morkūnas, began singing at church services, commemorations and celebrations. By the end of 1949, Leonas Baltrūnas persuaded more of the Dainos singers to join the established group. So the Melbourne Lithuanian Men's Choir was formed, with Juozas Petrašiūnas as its leader. Their first public concert, attended by over 500 spectators, took place at the Coconut Grove in the Melbourne suburb of Prahran. Early in 1950, Petrašiūnas handed the baton over to a talented musician, a violinist, Albertas Chelna. Women singers were invited to join, and the new mixed choir, named Aidas, made its debut in August 1950 at the Melbourne Town Hall at a concert held in honour of the Archbishop of Melbourne, Dr. Mannix.
Albertas Chelna was born in Lietuva in 1915 in a small rural town in Dzūkija. He was born into a large family of 6 children and early on showed a driving passion for music. He learned to play the violin, but his real love was for piano and violin, which he started to learn at the Music Conservatorium in Vilnius. When the Second World War began impacting upon Lietuva, his studies became interrupted, and he was forced to flee from the advancing Red Army to Germany, where he resumed his studies again at the Conservatorium of Music in Freiburg until he emigrated to Australia in 1949. My father's dealings with conducting occurred in 1950, when Juozas Petrašiūnas formed the first men's choir that later included female voices. Albertas Chelna then became the conductor of this combined choir, known then as Aidas, that had its first performance during Vasario 16 Minėjimas in 1950.
The Aidas choir continued performing at their annual and many special occasion concerts until 1956, when it was reorganized, augmented, and renamed the Dainos Samburis. Thus began the golden age of the Melbourne Dainos Samburis, with Albertas Chelna as its conductor, excellent male and female voices in its ranks, and Leonas Baltrūnas manager.
Į Dainos Samburio chorą įstojo 1952 metais, jeigu prisimenu. Choras man tai šeima dainose. Čia visi susibūrė tik tai dainai. Daina pakelia ūpą su švelniniu, skausmą atpalaiduoja nuo kasdienybės, visus suvienyje tik dainai. Nėra luomų, nei turtų, nei tik tai malonumas paguoda.
During the next 21 years, Dainos Samburis was unsurpassed as it presented its splendid annual performances in Melbourne, made regular concert visits to other cities, participated at many special commemorative events, and made a number of guest appearances at folkloric concerts. Its first LP record was released in 1962.
My own personal recollections of Dad's involvement with the choir began early in my life. I remember how as a child I would always be hovering around choir rehearsals and see Dad at home constantly listening to recordings of choir songs that he'd made on the reel-to-reel tape recorder gifted to him by the choir. My most special memory, and not only for me but for all who remembered Dad on stage, was when he and I played a duet together, myself on piano and Dad on violin.
After 27 illustrious and unforgettable years of distinguished conducting, Albertas Čelna retired in 1976. The Lithuanian Song Festival held in Melbourne, December 1976, introduced a young pianist, Dainos Samburis, who captivated the large Melbourne town hall audience when she stood in front of the Dainos Samburis to conduct a major work by composer Bronius Budrūnas, the cantata Tu Vilniui pasilik Valdove. A new era began.
61 metais chorui reikėjo pianistės, nes norėjo dainuoti Verdi operos Nabuko vergų dainą. Ponas Mildažis mane nuvežė į mano pirmą repeticiją su Dainos Samburiu pas ponus Balčiūnus. Pirmas įspūdis neimponuojantis. Choras išsirikiavęs dviejose eilėse pagal vieną sieną siaurame koridoriuje. Prie kitos sienos pianinas, kurio beveik visi klavišai veikė, ir dirigentas Albertas Čelna. Bet kai pradėjo dainuoti, susižavėjo. Taip ir prasidėjo mano meilė Dainos Samburiui.
The young and energetic Dainos Samburis reinvigorated the choir, and the audiences loved their bright and enthusiastic performances. In July 1978, full of confidence, Dainos Samburis undertook a tour of the United States and Canada, giving concerts in Los Angeles, Cleveland, Chicago, Toronto, and Hamilton. The tour was a great success. Audiences and critics were equally delighted.
Didžiausias iššūkis tai Albertui Čelnai išėjus į pensiją. Nutariau neleisti chorui numirti ir priėmiau pakvietimą dalyvauti 5-ojoje Šiaurės Amerikos lietuvių dainų šventėje Toronte, Kanadoje ir koncertuoti Toronte, Hamiltone, Los Angeles, Detroite, Clevelande ir Čikagoje. Tai buvo pirmoji tokios apimties meninė grupė vykstanti į pasaulio lietuvių dienas.
After the eventful North American tour, Dainos Samburis took maternity leave. Once again, Petras Morkūnas stepped into the breach, and in December 1978, together with the choir accompanist Birutė Prašmutas, presented the Melbourne Dainos Samburis at the Lithuanian Song Festival in Sydney.